answer lies in the heart of battle.
King of Iron Fist Tournament.
Mugen TV versus Corner.
Welcome to the stage of history retold.
Hey guys, it's MugenLord here, and I'm back again with another video. And before we dive into today's topic, I just want to let you guys know, if you didn't check out my previous video where I talked about the Capcom fighting game collection and why it's way more important than we think it is. If you haven't checked out the video, definitely check it out. Definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So let us dive right into today's topic. Today, we want to continue where we last left off, revolving Capcom, because Twitter had extremely blown up yesterday in the FGC up on Twitter about a decision that Capcom that was just so, I guess, so unattached and just so removed from reality and what's going on in the FGC. It was just, I had to make a video about it. And the thing is, I'm not, like I guess you could say a tournament player or a professional fighting game player, but I can see the stupidity or just like the craziness of why Capcom is doing that. So what am I talking about here? Well, if you guys don't know, yesterday or the day before yesterday, Capcom had made an announcement about their new, I guess you could say, user agreement when it comes to organizing Street Fighter related tournaments in the near future. And these rules have really set off the FGCs, because it's pretty much, if you look at it in a certain way, this could pretty much kill off grassroots communities. It could definitely crash and kill all smaller, basement tournaments in the near future when it comes to fighting games in the Capcom side of things, especially more specifically Street Fighter. So there's an article that elaborated more on it, because Capcom also had to come up with an update on this decision as well. So we're gonna dive right into it. So from Destructoid, it says Capcom angers the FGC with Street Fighter license esports proposal. Now, taking the L, Capcom has found itself in the bad books of the competitive fighting game community, the FGC, after proposing an official licensing scheme that could potentially be applied to all Street Fighter V and presumably Street Fighter VI tournaments held anywhere on American soil, regardless of the size. And that's what's going on. Now, we all know that with Street Fighter VI, and just with the controversy of, especially with the logo, which I'll probably do a video later on about the Street Fighter 6 logo, but we have gotten hints with Street Fighter 5 from throughout its entire lifespan, is that turning Street Fighter 5 into a live service rather than a full package, product that you just put out there and people buy, and then you make add-ons from here on out. But from the advertisements, the ads, the Capcom Cup, Capcom really wants to go full esports with Street Fighter, and Street Fighter V was the, I guess you say, the example, the prototype of where they want to go moving forward. So I guess because they had to make this new license agreement, they further want to push that envelope before Street Fighter 6 step into place, and the FGC, more so the Street Fighter side of things, the Street Fighter community is just not having it. They're not going for it. So let's continue on. Round 1 kicked off on February 28th when Capcom outlined its plan for the Street Fighter V community license agreement. In a nutshell, the proposed plan would require all tournament organizers, TOs, to apply for an official license in order to run a local or national tournament on flagship Street Fighter V Champion Edition. So yeah, so they don't care what size you are. They don't care how small you are. You have to get a license through them if you even want to have it streamed, if you want to have it aired, or anything of that sort. And here's the crazy thing too. They're even trying to put a cap or a handle on products that you sell that's related to Street Fighter as well at these events, which it really triggered the community. And I don't blame them, because this is like, they really pushing the envelope on this, but we'll get farther into that. So all TOs running Street Fighter V will be required to officially run the event under Capcom guidelines, with Capcom suggesting that securing an official registration will add several stages of legitimacy to the tournament while offering a sense of insurance in regards to prize payouts and player behavior at the event itself. Capcom would also supply TOs with marketing assets with which to promote their event with the TOs having the prestige of hosting an official Capcom Street Fighter tournament. And of course, you had Ultra David. He had also, because he has, you know, a background in law. I believe he's a lawyer, and he pretty much had created I guess you could say a breakdown of what all this implies, what it all entails and stuff. So he left a tweet about that. And then farther on, the FGC, however, does not see Capcom's plan as being altogether wholesome, already concerned with the opening Big Brother salvo of having a multi-million-dollar company over one's shoulders. The proposal also notes that all live streams, videos, and photographs of any licensed events automatically become usable royalty-free by Capcom. Additionally, Capcom will have the right to limit prize pool amounts, will ban price ticketing for spectators, ban the sale of official merchandise on site, and could simply deny the event altogether if it does not fall within the company guidelines. And this is crazy, man. Like, you don't understand. Like, before Capcom and a lot of these companies had jumped on board with this competitive community, man, like, a lot of these organizations, a lot of these locals was just grassroots. A lot of it started out in people's basements, homes, garages, and everything, you know. And now that it have gotten so much bigger, these companies see the potential of how much money that these people are pulling in, and now they want to get a slice of the action, or they want to get a piece of the action because it's their property and everything. So them controlling streams, you know, prize pools, you can't sell particular items that's related to that. So as far as like fan stuff or anything, these guys want a piece of it. And if you don't follow these guidelines, you can't host their tournaments. And that's crazy. So things that we normally used to do back in the day and what we used to do now, you have to get a license to be able to do it. Now, what Capcom failed to realize and don't understand is all this is going to do is push this type of behavior or this type of scene farther underground. Because this is not going to stop TOs. It's not going to stop anything. All you did was make it more hidden now. This is crazy. Like, this is like ridiculous. But I digress. So essentially, the FGC sees the proposal as being less about player security / safety, and instead believes that Capcom is simply trying to control the American competitive Street Fighter scene on all levels, from the smallest local gatherings to large national tournaments. In response to the proposal, some TOs have already announced that they will simply no longer host Street Fighter 5 tournaments at their events, focusing on other fighting games instead. A later statement from Capcom has done little to assuage the concerns, and that's what I'm talking about. This is why I want to tell a lot of you guys. I see a lot of people on Twitter saying how Capcom is going to destroy the FGC and because of this decision and stuff. And the thing that boggles my mind is people who only play Capcom games think that Capcom is the FGC, and they completely ignore all the other fighting games, all the other options that's out there that exist. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. This is why Capcom got away with a lot of the other decisions that they've been making, is because people who are only fans of Capcom, they just take whatever crap that Capcom give them because they don't go outside and explore other options. Capcom is the end-all be-all for a lot of these fans and a lot of these players that play competitively. So if Capcom screw up or whatever, they don't go anywhere else because they don't believe that there's anything else outside of that. So they just take whatever crap that Capcom give them, and this is why they have gotten to this point. So the best way to fight against this, I say too, is look into other games. Like I said, Street Fighter 5 is my least favorite Street Fighter. Out of all the Street Fighters I played, of course, Street Fighter Alpha will always be number one for me. I love the Street Fighter Alpha series. But there are other fighting games out there, and you know me, I made a lot of videos. More specifically, I guess the more popular video that I made is why how me sucking at fighting games has put me back onto playing JRPGs or RPGs in general. But as I said in that video, that I play a ton of fighting games. All I do, like every new fighting game that comes out, I buy them just to give them a try. So I believe in options and having options, man. I don't even remember the last time I really stuck with a Capcom game, because there's a plethora of fighting games that's out there. So that in order for them to for you get like put pressure on Capcom, just say, hey, I ain't gonna host your tournament. I ain't gonna host any of your games, because the only reason why Capcom got to the level that they got was because of how these TOs have headlined their games. More people know more about Street Fighter than ever before because, especially if they go into the FGC and everything, it's because of these TOs, because of these tournaments and everything. And this is the thanks that they give the community by doing stuff like this. So let's move on. So they had left a statement as well. It says, yesterday we published the new Street Fighter V community license agreement for both the Americas and the EMEA. Our aim was to make running an event with Street Fighter 5 was a Champion Edition easier. When TOs have contacted Capcom about running community events with Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition in the past, the approval process has always taken a lot of time. We want to make the rules clear and allow for much faster approvals. We're also keen to build tighter relationships with TOs and to encourage safe spaces to play Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition. Thank you to everyone who has sent us feedback thus far on our new agreement. We are reviewing this feedback with the wider Capcom team, and will follow up with more updates soon. So these guys are doing this again. So it said, this rings a bell. It should be noted that this all sounds incredibly familiar. Around the 2017 launch of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, a title which Capcom was convinced was going to be the biggest competitive fighter of all time, leaked plans for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite events featured a similar version of the license concept, alongside numerous other big money plans for the competitive scene. This would not come to pass, of course, as MVCI failed to hit as a major league fighter. It seems, however, that Capcom plans might not now be dusted off for both the twilight year of Street Fighter V and likely the incoming Street Fighter 6. So that's the thing, and this is the thing. Esports has really became such a big deal to these companies now that they're trying to franchise these games, and it has really hurt the FGC, and it has really hurt the quality of these games, because now it's like before even before the game come out, they already have major plans as if they know that the game is actually going to do well. And what these companies fail to realize is they have to see and leave it to the community whether or not that this game is esports worthy. You can't just make a game esports out the gate without knowing whether or not if this game is going to be widely accepted and received well by the community that you're trying to promote this game towards. So the FGC competitive scene is far from perfect. I have personally experienced problems in regards to payouts, insults, and general poor tournament management, but I wholly understand the TO's concerns here. Aside from the ownership of assets and the dictatorial nature of rules and pricing, fighting games have always been built on their communal grassroots mentality. Capcom's proposals arguably risk implementing control and a sense of corporate capitalism at even the smallest, most private of events. And that's the thing, it's the private events. They're trying to big brother these private events, these little small events. They want to get a piece of that. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you're putting it on a grand scale to where the whole world is seeing it, like a Las Vegas event or something that's really big that even the news or ESPN wants to get a hold of. Then that's different. Of course, you're gonna need a license for that. But I can't just sit in my house and just host a tournament or whatever like that, and I have to get a license through you guys. Like, that is ridiculous. That would literally kill the grassroots scene. It would literally kill locals. It would definitely do that. Now, the FGC has always been proud of its homegrown street mentality, and while the scene certainly needs to see better moderation and player security, having the biggest fighting game publisher in the world breathing down your neck while simultaneously handing over all your scene's assets to them free of charge might not be the way to inspire confidence and trust between either party. So it says, the fight for the future. The fighting game genre is going through yet another renaissance, with Guilty Gear, The King of Fighters, Tekken, Super Smash Bros., Dragon Ball FighterZ, DNF Duel, Mortal Kombat, Breaker's Revenge, and a slew of also indie fighters and near the horizon already embedded within the competitive scene. National tournaments have more than enough games to host and competitions to run. Street Fighter V is not the end all be all, like I said before. It's not the end all be all. And he says, and I'm old enough to have seen it all go down. I love Street Fighter passionately and wholeheartedly. I also want to make it clear that I understand what that when a TO runs a game, it's a representative of a brand. and as such, publishers will wish to have a hand in how said brand is represented. All TOs need to accept responsibility for the safety, security, and control of their players, spectators, and cash handling affairs. It is the responsibility and should be treated as such. Still, if Capcom doesn't tread carefully with its proposal, communicating and listening to TOs while working out what is best, fairest, least draconian, and most rewarding deal for all parties, then Street Fighter 6 could potentially observe a rough launch at Street Fighter 5. Worse still, Capcom could find itself with another Marvel's Capcom Infinite on its hand from the competitive stance at least. And that's the thing. They can kill Capcom can kill Street Fighter 6 before it even launches with this. And this is why they have to be careful. Because Street Fighter 6 can very well be dead before it even starts. And Capcom, which is so crazy, it's one thing, if Capcom was really smart, they could have done that after Street Fighter 6 was announced. And no, after it was launched or anything of that sort. But they do it way before the release of Street Fighter 6. And they expect to have no form of backlash at all. Now, there's also two sides to this. You have the TO side and you have the community side, and you have the corporate side. Now, the thing is, which I mentioned before, I have a LLC. I have my own comic book company where I'm about to start my own comic book, mangas and stuff like that. And I understand when you have your characters, you have your brand, and these are like your babies. And if people are going to use your brands, make fan art, or do any type of thing, you would like to see your characters or you want to see your brand represented in a certain way and don't want to have a bad name because of what other people have done with your product or with your with your baby, you know what I'm saying? So I understand that Capcom really wants to have some form of control over it, of how things go out, especially when it comes to payouts, because there's been a lot of debacle, a lot of issues where a lot of competitive players that go to a set particular tournament and then they don't get their money on time, or they don't get their money at all, and then a lot of controversy goes on with a lot of allegations and everything. And then especially if Capcom name was on it or their game was being headlined and a lot of controversy surround that game, they can also give their brand a bad image. So I understand them wanting to control that, but at the same time, there has to be some meet us halfway. You know what I'm saying? We have to have some type of dialogue that both the community and both the company can have a mutual understanding together. They can work together on both ends of things. But to come in and just straight say, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, and this is what we want to do, or whatever, that's where the problem come in. And also on the note of with Nintendo just pulled Smash Bros. Ultimate from EVO of this year, EVO 2022, and that's the same thing. Well, more so Sony, because Sony owns EVO, but the same thing, how Nintendo really has like this thing about brand image and how they want their brand to be associated with certain types of organizations, certain type of behaviors, and all kinds of mess like that. So I understand both sides, but Capcom has to meet the community halfway, because if they want Street Fighter 6 to succeed, then they definitely have to work something out, because Street Fighter 6 can definitely die before it even releases. It can die before it even comes out at all. And that's something that Capcom can't even afford, especially if they plan on trying to dump a bunch of money into esports. And this is where the problem comes in more so, is this whole esports thing. Esports for fighting games, I would say. I wouldn't say esports for these other type of communities, because I'm not really part of like the MOBA, like League of Legends or the Overwatch. I know Overwatch having their own mess. I've been following a little bit of Overwatch because I like Overwatch. I've been following their mess. But more specifically, trying to find a way to usher in the fighting game community into esports has just been a rough road, because of the nature of how fighting games are. It's a much different genre than first person shooters, MOBAs, arena shooters, real-time strategy, RTSs. It's definitely different. It's a much different type of genre, and it's more grassroots. It's more that street type of mentality, the trash talking, what I'm saying, all types of stuff like that, so it's kind of hard to try to take something that has been so grounded, in this type of community, to now try to make it more, I wouldn't say user friendly, but more corporate, more politically correct, and everything like that. And it's really hard trying to shift that type of mentality coming from that community. And then you got to look at it from the spectator's point of view. You know, how interesting is a fighting games compared to the other genres and everything. So it's a type of formula that's been hard to really crack. I mean, some companies has been successful so far, like Bandai Namco with their Tekken, you know, Dragon Ball Fighters. So there's been some success. Arc System Works is trying to get their whole, you know, competitive circuit going on. So there's it's still a lot of trial and error. I think what more so people are really waiting on too, to see if the formula can be cracked for fighting games and esports, is Riot Games with their Project L, with their League of Legends fighting games. People are definitely looking to see how, if they figured out a formula to be able to regulate it and to get it to be more user friendly compared to what Capcom is doing right now. So we just have to wait and see, man. But Capcom has to do better. They have to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to meet the FGC in this community that have gotten their brand to where it's at to this day. They have to figure out how they're going to meet them halfway, you know? So that pretty much wraps up this video, wrap up my opinion and what I think about this whole situation with Capcom. It is ridiculous, and I hope they get it together. So if you like the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll repeat it again. You guys has been very helpful when it comes to just putting my channel, get my channel out there on the recommended page, and just in the algorithm. My channel has been favored by the algorithm lately, and I just want to keep that trend going. And also, guys, for those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, because it shows that a vast majority of you who are helping my channel out aren't even subscribed to my channel compared to the people who are actually subscribed to my channel. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you like this content here. So with that being said, hit that bell to be notified to just follow up on everything fighting game and JRPG related. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you Game Fiends later. Peace out. It looks like you reached the end of the video. Well, while you're at it, check out some of my other discussion videos by clicking on the annotations below. And don't forget to follow me on other social media platforms to stay up to date with future content. Signing off.